Now, some of you young whippersnappers might not know him, but one of my favorite comedians that I used to love watching growing up was Bernie Mac. Rest in peace, Bernie Mac, while we're talking about that. And he actually had a show that I used to love to watch as well called The Bernie Mac Show. Now, I know you guys are like, what does this have to do to Yu-Gi-Oh? But stick with me, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to see the tangent that I'm going into. So the Bernie Mac Show had this one particular episode that resonated with me, literally completely stuck with me until this day. You can apply this logic to almost anything in life and still get away with something. In this particular episode, Bernie Mac needed to renovate his house, so he hired a contractor. Now, what the contractor, or the diagram that the contractor basically presented to Bernie Mac, is something that you guys can use forever. So he said, you can have it good and cheap, but it won't be fast. You can have it good and fast, but it won't be cheap. Or you can have it fast and good, or I'm sorry, you can have it fast and cheap, but it won't really be good. And you can apply that for everything in life. Literally, apply it to all of your relationships right now. Not too many relationships, it's okay. Apply them to your future relationships that you have. So the thing is, I know you guys are like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Normally this applies to every little thing, but the fact that this does not apply to Salamangreats does mean something. I think we're onto something. It's a cheap deck that's good, and I think it's going to be pretty fast paced. I think that Salamangreats are one of the few exceptions to this rule, allowing you to have the trifecta of every single one of these things, and it's something that everybody is going to be playing. Why? Well, because it's cheap and it's good. Being able to buy 3 Salamangreat structure decks and then a couple of other cards pretty much gets you into a tier 1 deck. Now, I know the dilemma. Some people are like, man, Salamangreats are already flooding my meta. I need to learn how to play them, and I also need to learn how to beat them. Well, this is probably the video for you. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys not only how Salamangreats work, but I'm also going to be giving you the tech options and also a way to beat Salamangreat. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, they're going to destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, go ahead and that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. I also want to give a special thanks to every single one of my Patreons. Without you guys, videos like this would not be possible. Also want to give a mad shout out to our newest Patreon, Robert Paquetto. I hope I said your name right. Make sure you add yourself to that Discord as well as message me or Just so we can get you in the top dog so you can take advantage of all your rewards. And while I'm here, why don't all of you guys add yourself to that Discord? Make sure you fill up that Discord. We have so many awesome things from a trade room to tournaments and whatnot. I think you guys would have a lot of fun. Without further ado, I present to you not only a guide on how to play Salamangreat somewhat, but also how to counter them, how to beat them, and what are the good cards to use against them. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are ready to learn about Salaman Awesome. Salamangreat is a link-based deck that can surprisingly exceed summon into rank 3s and rank 4s very well. It also has the ability to special summon a fusion monster to the side of the field, but don't worry, you're not going to see that monster a lot unless it's going for game, so I guess you do have a little bit to worry about. Salamangreats also have a ritual monster, but that's something you really don't need to worry about because most competitive variants, if not any competitive variants, play the card at all. It is seen as not so much of a great card. Now, the quirk that Salamangreats have over any other archetype, something that it does that other archetypes don't do, is that some of the Salamangreat link monsters require you to use a Salamangreat link monster with its own name. So for example, in order to gain Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf's full effects, you actually need to use Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf as a material. This requires you to play multiple copies of a certain card inside of your deck. Same thing with Salamangreat Heart Leo in order to gain their full effects. This problem is often mitigated between Salamangreat Sanctuary because it allows you to use the same monster as a link summon. While Salamangreat Wolf, you would just have to use another monster to make a Salamangreat Wolf. Using 2 more monsters in Heart Leo to make Heart Leo is kind of problematic. We can also see that in the future that Salamangreats are definitely deserving of a Link 4 monster and some more cards into the arsenal, whether they're rank 4 monsters or rank 3 monsters, to boost the archetype. So the deck definitely has a lot of room to grow. You can supplement the fast portion for the durability if you guys didn't skip over the intro because that actually comes in, and you can see that Salamangreats can be a very powerful deck for years to come, if not at least this year. Now that we are done with the general idea of the deck, I actually want to go a little bit in depth to show you how the deck works, what it wants to do. The deck is heavily predicated around Salamangreat Gazelle and Salamangreat Spinny. What Spinny does is that you can discard this card from your hand to the graveyard to give one of your Salamangreat monsters or one of your monsters 500 attack. You have to have a Salamangreat monster on the field to activate that effect. Its next effect, if you control all Salamangreat, or if you control a Salamangreat monster, you can spell summon this level 3 guy back to your side of the field. Salamangreat Gazelle is a little bit different. When it's normal summon or spell summon, you can send one Salamangreat card from your deck to your graveyard. And if a Salamangreat monster is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can spell summon this guy to your side of the field. So both of these monsters have ways to bring themselves to the side of the field, and it creates a pretty huge combo just with those two cards. What you're going to do is normal summon your Salamangreat Spinny and immediately use it for a Link 1 into Salamangreat Baylynx. Baylynx effect is going to activate, and then you're going to chain your Salamangreat Gazelles, allowing it to spell summon itself to the side of the field, and also being able to add a card called Salamangreat Sanctuary from your deck to your hand. Now, Salamangreat Gazelle's effect activates in a separate chain, allowing you to send one Salamangreat card from your deck to your graveyard. And there are so many avenues you can go with this card, but we're going to assume that we're doing the base combo. We're going to send a Salamangreat Trap card from our deck, whether it's Salamangreat Roar or Salamangreat Rage. It all depends on what you're playing against and what else you have in your hand. From there, you use Salamangreat Spinny's effect to spell summon itself to the side of the field because you control a Salamangreat monster. And now you use both of those monsters for your first Exceed summon into Salamangreat Mirage Stallion. Now, Salamangreat Mirage Stallion allows you to spell summon a Salamangreat monster from your deck to your side of the field, but you can only activate for the rest of the turn fire monsters. Do not get that confused, as that can still summon monsters like Borlow Dragon and Boral Sword Dragon to the side of the field. They just won't be able to activate their effects. It kind of defeats the purpose, but it shows that the deck has a lot more room to grow. If there was a fire Salamangreat monster with a great effect, this could be really scary. Mirage Stallion is going to detach the Salamangreat Gazelle to your graveyard to special summon Salamangreat Jaguar. From there, you use the Salamangreat Baylynx and the Jaguar for a link summon into your Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, and then you activate your Salamangreat Sanctuary. With Salamangreat Sanctuary, you link summon the Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf into another Sunlight Wolf, gaining its ability to add your Salamangreat Rage or Roar from your graveyard to your hand. You can also use Jaguar to send the Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf in your graveyard back into your deck, to summon Jaguar back to your side of the field, and then gain Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf's other ability, allowing you to add Gazelle from your graveyard to your hand. So just a quick recap, let's see what we have on our field. We have a Salamangreat Mirage Stallion that when used as a link summon, it can bounce an opponent's card. It also still has one material left on it to detach. Salamangreat Spinny actually goes back to the graveyard for later use, and it can also summon itself back to the side of the field if you control Salamangreat monsters. You also have a Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, which is a Link 2 monster and is really important to the combo. Anytime a monster is summoned to where it points to, you can add a fire monster from your graveyard to your hand. So if you decide to Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring your opponent during that turn and they summon a monster to where it points to, you can add back Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. You also have Jaguar, which is another level 4 Salamangreat monster, and if you were to be able to put another level 4 Salamangreat monster to your side of the field, you can make Bagusta or Abyss Dweller, which would really hurt your opponent in certain situations. All that for 2 cards. You also have Salamangreat Gazelle in your hand and Salamangreat Baylynx in the graveyard to prevent a destruction. On top of that, you also have Salamangreat Roar or Rage, all off of 2 cards. What Salamangreat Rage does is allows you to destroy your opponent's cards up to the link rating of a monster you control. Well, Sunlight Wolf actually fits the exact requirements, as you do need a monster that was used for its own link summon. Or, if they do somehow get rid of Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, you can just send a Salamangreat monster, cough cough Jaguar, from your field to the graveyard to destroy a card your opponent controls. Salamangreats all did that for 2 cards, so imagine what other 3 cards you can have in your hand, whether it be hand traps, extra traps, or just anything to disrupt your opponent. The deck is really good, but now that I pretty much broke down the main combo, there are some glaring weaknesses inside of the strategy, and we're going to be able to exploit them. One thing you might notice about the Salamangreat strategy is that it doesn't search whatsoever. So cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring and Drone and Lockbird, some of the best hand traps in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, do little to nothing against the deck. Actually, Joel and Lockbird is basically dead weight. It's the newest iPhone. It's not going to do anything. It's not good against Salamangreats. It's not doing anything because the deck doesn't really search anything, and while Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring could have some success, they can actually chain block Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring from hitting the cards that you really want and still get exactly what they want and make the board that they want to do. So with that out of the way, you think the next best hand trap is Cyframe Gear Gamma, and it's insane against so many decks. Well, against Salamangreat, it is mixed results. By the time that you want to use Cyframe Gear Gamma, Baylynx will possibly already be in the graveyard, and then when they summon Baylynx, you can Gamma the Baylynx, which I mean, I guess is good. How they chain block with the Gazelle, the card that you really want to hit, puts you in a pretty terrible spot. So Salamangreat Gamma isn't the best card to use against them as well. So I bet you guys are like, TheCaliEffect, what hand traps do I use against this? Well, it's actually pretty simple. DD Crow is probably one of the best hand traps to use against Salamangreat because it can activate any given time. It isn't chaining to a specific card, so there's nothing to chain block, and it can hit spells, traps, and monsters in the graveyard. Hey, you want that fusion fire in your graveyard? DD Crow it when they use that Sunlight Wolf. If they want to gain that trap card back to the hand, you can DD Crow it, or you can just DD Crow and stop it from the beginning, the Salamangreat Spinny. DD Crow is just really powerful against the deck because it can banish all of those critical cards that they need to recur to their hand. Same thing with Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. It's really good against anything that use Revival, so cards like World Legacy Succession and Monster Reborn better watch out for Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, as well as the ability to do the exact same thing, block the opponent from gaining those critical cards from their graveyard to their hand. Now, if you guys are following amongst the lines, you'd realize that, hey, wait, Salamangreat seem to be pretty graveyard reliant if Ghost Bell and DD Crow do so well against them. Well, you're completely right. Cards like Macrocosmos and Dark Law, if you can open them with them, will put Salamangreats at a really tough position. They need to get cards into the graveyard, and these cards completely banish them. So yes, that'll be really hard for them to deal with. Also, cards like the Silent Graveyard and Necro Valley are really good spell cards to play against the deck because guess what? Again, they manipulate the graveyard to prevent the opponent from using cards in the graveyard, which is pretty pivotal for their success. Another card that can completely wreck them that almost every deck can play, hell, even Salamangreats can play this card, is Abyss Dweller. It is back on the rise. This card, basically drowning out all of those fire decks, can completely ruin the Salamangreat strategy because, well, I mean, read Abyss Dweller. It's really good at stopping cards from activating in the graveyard, which then forces Salamangreats to try to rely on more resources in their hand, which they more than likely always can't do. Now, a lot of times, the Salamangreat player wants to set up with a Link Monster and Salamangreat Rage to destroy cards on your side of the field. Now, I bet you guys are wondering, how do you get over that? Well, I mean, you can't necessarily destroy the Salamangreat monster because Balinx is in the graveyard. You would have to waste 2 resources to destroy the Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. But there's a very simple way around it. You can always just give your opponent Winged Dragon Raw Sphere Mode or a healthy Kaiju. Both of those can pretty much out the board, while Rage can still use this effect discarding a Salamangreat card from hand. He'd be pretty pressed to use Salamangreat Roar's effect with a Kaiju on the side of the field or a Winged Dragon Raw Sphere Mode. So those are really good outs. I would lean more towards the Kaiju because it doesn't waste your normal summon, but Sphere Mode actually like is a big ball of can't be targeted, and then you play Winged Dragon Raw, like, so you can summon it and you be like, great beast to the sky. No, doesn't work. Okay, sure. Now, if you look at it, Salamangreats can be separated into another category. We already got the Disrupt in the graveyard, and then we turned around and we want to get rid of their board presence by tributing that Salamangreat Link monster, but the back row is actually pretty fearsome. Cards like Twin Twisters can be a gamble because discarding one card to lose it to Salamangreat Roar is a risky gambit. You would actually need another form of destruction after that just to rid their back row, when all you have to do is just normal summon DENKO SEKKA to your side of the field, and that pretty much handles every single one of their cards face down and allows you to pop up with your plays. DENKO SEKKA is insanely good against the deck because now you have to say, hey, all that board is nice, but let's see if you have those hand traps as well to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or to prevent me from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And a lot of times, good decks can play around hand traps, so always be on the lookout for cards like DENKO SEKKA to prevent your opponent from using that back row. It's really good against Salamangreats, and Salamangreats should definitely have to look out for that card because it's so powerful and it's searchable with the Thunder Dragon Fusion. Now, one of the best floodgates in the game for dealing with Salamangreat is there can only be one. Even though you kind of have to look out for it because they have ways to destroy it, but there can only be one. Prevents both players from having more than one type on the field, which could be detrimental to a deck that is all Cybers. So yeah, this card is a one-hitter quitter against the deck if they have no disruptions. Always be on the lookout. Another way to prevent Salamangreats from being so Salamangreat is just to prevent them from summoning monsters from their extra deck to the side of the field. If you put a well-timed Artifact Sanctum to Artifact Scythe to your side of the field, well, your opponent won't be able to spell summon monsters from the extra deck, meaning that they won't be able to get into those cards. I would also recommend against it, but if you really must, Dimensional Barrier is searchable through Trap Trick and can prevent the Xyz monster from using its effect, can prevent the Fusion monster from using its effect, but won't prevent the links. Those are some all really great cards for Salamangreat, and I want you guys to post down below in the description some of the cards that I missed. I know that there are a lot of cards that could be discussed to counter this strategy, but I wanted to talk about the more prevalent cards that you might see in your meta, as well as some really easy to access options that you guys should be having. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a like, and if you didn't, let us know down below in the comment section what we could do to be better. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.